So this is a community that is already struggling with mental health from living in the wrong body, for lack of a better expression, which is made even more difficult by people who don't support them. So I wanted to contribute to something that was going to provide support for this group.
I think it's a gigantic issue, isn't it, right now, especially in the UK. The Scottish Gender Reform Bill was pushed through, and it was one of the most reformative bills about gender equality, and the UK government just no. So a book like this talking about trans issues is phenomenal. And I can imagine that it was quite fun to work with other people, but what was your personal experience, and would you work collaboratively again?
I would work collaboratively again. I have some really nice lasting relationships with some of the people I worked on the book with. I recently ended up getting back in touch with the co-writer because we found out we're in the same transgender rugby team, which is like a national thing, and we just ended up in the group chat and we went, oh my god, Eric, oh my god, Lucas, hi! So that was really nice. And Jasper, one of the illustrators, we have plans to make some more comics together outside of this. So I definitely would work with other people again. It's very dependent on how well you click. I was really fortunate that the whole team was really friendly, but it's also difficult when a lot of people have, everyone has other lives, everyone has other work to do. A lot of us were still at uni, so it's really hard to meet deadlines and things when it's not your only commitment. So the only thing that was difficult was we were all spread across the country, all of our meetings were online, and we couldn't sit down in a room and go, right, we're doing this today. It had to be over a Zoom meeting, and all the deadlines were just, oh, here's a month to do this, and we're not going to see each other. So just, I hope you do it. So that was the most difficult part, was working at such long distances away from each other and just kind of hoping that everyone would be able to contribute what they were supposed to. So if I were to collaborate again, it would be a lot easier if it was an in-person thing where I had scheduled meetings or someone I could meet up with that I already lived close to, because it makes it a lot more of a tangible thing if you're meeting this person. It all feels a bit all far off and, oh, I don't need to worry about that if you're only doing things online.
So with a book like this that's about politics and trans issues, how did you balance sort of between the activism part of it and your creativity? Because it must be emotionally tiring to not just be creative, but have to be creative in a very pointed way.
That is a very good question. It was a very draining book for all of us to do, and the Marginal team were fantastic at saying, look, because this is such a difficult thing to write about, take breaks when you need to, please just tell us if you can't handle this workload. So that was really helpful to have a team who obviously wanted to get this stuff out there, but appreciated that it's so draining to write about things that are so difficult to experience. It really helped having a team so we could split the workload. Some people were very specific, like, I can't write about this thing because it's too personal. Some people went, I can't write about that because it's too draining. So between us, we managed to write things, and we were able to have honest meetings like, this is a really difficult thing for this reason, and a lot of those discussions made it into the book. So we ended up talking about disordered eating, which was very personal for some people on the team. We ended up talking about self-harm, and disability and barriers to healthcare, which were very personal experiences for some people on the team. So it helped to have other writers who could pick up where you left off if it ended up being too much for you.
Within the book there are a lot of different comments, but there's a lot of information about everything, isn't there? It's from medical to personal to appearance. And why do you believe that books like this should be made?
Because the narrative about being transgender so often is such a narrow thing in mainstream media. It's, but why are you trans? Or like, oh, should trans people have rights? And the simple answer is yes. Yes, they should. But a lot of information for trans people is very medical based, or here's how you do transitioning, and it doesn't focus on some of the wider aspects of like, what do you do once you've changed your name? What do you do once you've medically transitioned? What do you do once people don't see you as trans anymore, but this is still a really important thing that affects your life? And some of the things that aren't linked to being transgender by mainstream media, but do affect transgender people in disproportionate ways, like disordered eating and like barriers to healthcare. So it's important to have these diverse topics all in one place. My favourite chapter to write was the sexual health chapter, because sexual health does not focus on the experiences of transgender people. So to be able to just write a standard sexual health chapter, which is everything that you should learn in school, but written in a trans-inclusive way, just in a book for trans people, but anybody could read it. Just, I think this information should just be accessible everywhere, or at least all in one place, rather than here's where you read about this one specific thing, here's where you read about this specific thing.
Oh gosh, that's really good. So we've got about 5 minutes left. So we'd like to open it for a Q&A if anyone has any questions for Lucas. There's 3 questions. Shall we start with you? Do you want the mic or?
I was just wondering how many people in total worked on the book.
So there were 2 writers, so there was me and Eric. There were 2 illustrators, Jasper and Rowan. And then there were 2 editors. We started with another editor called Lucas, and then they couldn't finish the project, so another guy called Ernie took over. But one thing that I think is important to mention is we are all white people, and we are all trans-masculine people. So we didn't have any trans-feminine people on the team, or any people of colour. So throughout the project, we also had contributors who we paid to write certain sections or do certain comics. To talk about experiences that we couldn't relate to. So we had some artists of colour contribute, and we had some disabled people contribute, and we had a doctor contribute as well. So although the main team was us 6 people, we had paid contributors as well, and there are excerpts throughout the book where they're credited.
And it's also mentioned at the start of the book, isn't it, about the intersectionality and how important that is within the trans identity.
The book starts with where we are, where we should be, and talks about future projects. Where do you see yourself expanding into? Do you think this is enough for the current generation? Because this is something like young trans people obviously making it with everything like you're doing yourself. Where would you like to go from here?
That is a very big question, right? I would like more creators to focus on things like this. So to have these conversations, I really want books like this to be used to make lasting change. So go to the governments and go to healthcare providers and be like, please fix this. This is what we need from you. I want it to stop being a conversation and start creating action, because trans people are debated all the time in the media. It's not a debate. Please just give us what we need.
I think we've got time for one more question. Oh.
Outside of this event, where would you go to purchase the book, kind of like long term, if you want to tell other people about it? Like, where do you just tell people to go to get it?
So as with all of the books that have been talked about today, it is available on the Marginal Publishing House website. And in select bookstores, I think. I'm not sure which bookstores, but they are all available on the website.
So I'll pass to Scully in a second, but I just wanted to ask if you had any social media or anything that you'd like to promote.
Aside from the book, not really. So thanks to Ollie before, who did the self-publishing like panel type thing. I might be restarting my Instagram, but it currently doesn't have anything on it, so I won't plug that.
Well, thank you so much, and I'm going to pass over to Scully.